If you've ever leaned forward on your bike and thought you were in gear and went to gas it and you didn't move, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. What's up, y'all? So, a new tire on means I decided to ride my bike to a meeting instead of driving. And despite the fact it's officially fall, at least here in Texas, it was 100 degrees today, and when it said no chance of rain, apparently I'm riding through an area that it just rained at, and there's rain clouds over there, and an obvious rain going down. So I'm hoping I make it to where I'm going before the rain kicks in. It's gonna be a fun day. What's up, y'all? Today I'm on my way to go meet with the vocalist, have a meeting about an album he wants to do and some other work that he wants to maybe record and work on. I might play on. I don't know, this is the preliminary meeting to talk about all of it. So, a little excited. So, a little different out of what I normally do. At least I think so. The way he kind of described it to me ahead of time, it sounded different, but we'll find out. I might try to document some of that process, or you guys might get to hear a little bit of that, because I'll just incorporate it into some videos. Probably clips of ideas and stuff that maybe don't end up in songs, or maybe end up, you know, it's just a bass line or guitar or something of a song. We'll see. I was really hoping that it would be cooling down by now. And it is 100 degrees today. But this new tire is working out great. I'm having a blast riding on it. I really do need to find a sister bar or bags or something to put on here. I'm currently wearing a backpack, and I would have much preferred to not have to carry a backpack and just throwing stuff in a saddlebag or strap it to a sister bar. So that'll be on my holiday look list when people start coming out with products. In other news, I don't know if y'all can see on my right exhaust right there on the tip, there's something melted to it. I noticed this after I got back from the shop that installed my tire. That's when I noticed that. I'm thinking they melted or they put something on it, and, you know, I don't know why they did that, but they might have put something on it when they were in the process of changing the tire, and it melted to there. So if anybody's got any tips on how to remove whatever that is off of a pipe, put it down in the comments, because I am definitely going to try to figure out how the hell to get that off. It actually kind of bothers me just a little bit that it's there. I know cosmetically it probably doesn't look good, but physically it probably does nothing. But I still don't like it. Also sucks because, like, the other pipe looks so good, shiny, clean. Now that one looks like almost like it's starting to blue, and then that, whatever that is, it looks like it's almost starting to blue, and that melted, crusty stuff, I don't know what that is. Woo! Temperature dropped a little bit. It's feeling better, which also potentially mean that's rain right there. Not a good sign. I'm also thinking about trying out some new helmets. My last two helmets were built well. The current one I'm wearing is a built well. I love this helmet. It's not the quietest. It's pretty darn comfy though. I do enjoy wearing it. It's a little tight. I got one like as a half size too small in the hopes I would stretch it out, which I mostly did. But now that I'm riding and talking in a helmet, it's squeezing my cheeks into my mouth, and I'm cutting into my cheeks with my teeth. So I'm going to start looking for a new helmet. And I'm trying to figure out if I can find a helmet maker or somebody that does like custom paint and can maybe paint the helmet or color match it to my current one, because I really like my current color. The current color helmet I got is very similar to what's right here on my handlebar mount for my GoPro. Pretty similar. That's why I bought that one. It rained out here too. These roads are all wet. Oh, nothing like getting your knees wet. And there's water going up at my GoPro. That's nice. I've got the waterproof housing on this camera, but the touchscreen is still exposed on the back so that I can access it to do things if I need to, which means it's not waterproof on the back, unfortunately. Might have to change that to fix it.
The next day.
Would you look at that? I never get tired of looking at this bike. Oh man. This bike kind of reminds me of a Brat. I've been thinking about building a Brat, actually. What's up, guys? Best part about having power is when you need it, it's right there. So the meeting I had with the singer went really well. I'm excited. There was a lot of things we talked about that were just a lot of things that like we were on the same page about, which is really cool. We're gonna have another meeting to talk some more, and we'll see how that goes. And then maybe I might share some of that or the working process on here with you guys. The faded Harley Davidson logo. I'm so glad it's not that hot anymore. I'm wearing my normal leather, not my perforated leather, and it's actually pretty comfy even though it is 90 degrees. But I'm still pretty comfy in this right now, honestly. That new tire feels great. And I was right, they did melt something to my pipe there. I don't know if you can see it. Yeah, I guess they touched it with something plastic or a boot or a shoe or something. I don't know what it is, but yeah, something melted to it. I haven't really figured out how to get it off yet. Haven't really had time, honestly. If you guys have any ideas on how to get something melted to your pipe off the pipe, put it down in the comments, because I honestly really want to know how to get that off. I have never had that problem before. Every bike I had before, the pipes were either powder coated or the bike was so old and I rode it so much I blew the pipe. And then, you know, as you would eventually change them out over time when you have a bike long enough. Well, I did that before, but I actually like these, and I would keep these on if I could fix that. Plus, I think most of the pipes I've seen for the R18 are all slip-ons. They're not like a full exhaust. I might be wrong about that, but I know that the few that I have seen online when I look, they were slip-on, because people said you just really unhook the back end of the fishtail or shark tail, however you want to call that. You just unhook that, slide it off, and you put the new one on. They're like shorties or they're long straight pipes or something. I think the Vance and Hines ones are slip-ons too, I'm not sure. Besides that, I'm really shopping around for a way to figure out carrying more things with me, and still torn between a saddlebag and a sissy bar. Oh, bumpy road. I'm leaning sissy bar route, but that's mainly because I haven't seen any saddlebags that really catch me. And October coming up is going to be a crazy month. I am super busy. I got weddings I'm going to, got a lot of work that I will be completely enthralled in, and I don't even know if I can film while I'm doing that. So I'm gonna try to figure out getting some interesting things so I can show you guys. I wanted to try to film some locations that ride to in October, but I just don't know if I'm gonna have the ability to A, ride to the places that I'm going to go do things at, and B, I'm so busy when I get to those places, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to. Then I also got a phone call last minute asking about going to Pennsylvania with some projects. We've been playing phone tag. It hadn't really caught up. I was like, I need more details without, dropping everything in my life just to go do something like that. They were like, I'll get back to you. Now I think honestly it's like a week later. So I'm like, I'm not putting a lot of cards on that one. But anything can happen. Who knows? I would love to be out there in Pennsylvania riding. I've heard it's a beautiful time of year right now to ride up there. And I look at a lot of motorcycle people I follow online, and they happen to live in Pennsylvania, and they ride a lot up there. They also have a festival up there I'd like to go to. I think it just ended though, but I think it's called Glory Days Festival, and that actually seems really cool. It reminds me kind of down here in Texas, we have Born Free, and we also have Hand Built, and I love going to those. So it'd be cool if I could go to one in Pennsylvania that's kind of similar. A lot of custom chopper builds. I used to be the guy that didn't really care for choppers, and then I don't know what happened, just like 3 years ago, I went down a rabbit hole of like really looking at why people build choppers, what they really are, and there's a whole culture there that's really cool. There's like almost an underground resurgence coming back for it. I think the thing that's intriguing to me about it is it would push me, if I built one, it would push me to learn more about motorcycles than I already know. Because when you build a bike, you start learning all the little nuances, all the little tricks. And especially when you get into older bikes, newer bikes, they just got so much tech in them, they kind of solved all these problems and made everything super easy. And older bikes, there's those little quirks that are kind of cool. They could be annoying to a guy that wants like the daily rider, where he's just like going to work back and forth on it or something. It could be annoying for that guy where he just needs old reliable. But to the guy that just wants that extra bike in the stable that's like just a fun nostalgic ride, like that's really cool to like have and work on. And it's also cool that you would retain that knowledge, at least a little bit of it, and be able to pass it on. Or you might be going down the road and you see another guy on one, and you could be on your reliable bike, but you see a guy on, the old vintage Harley or the old vintage Honda, or even an old vintage Airhead, and you see he's got a problem, and because you've got experience in it, you might pull over and be like, hey dude, can I help? I think I know something that might help here. I don't know, maybe it's just me. That's like a great feeling. I've helped people on the side of the road plenty of times. I don't know, it's just a great feeling, because it's like, it puts your base of knowledge that you've accumulated and experienced over time to an actual test where you actually come in handy to another human being. Oh, I always forget that hole right there. Normally I'm in the other lane, not this lane. Actually, this is an area where I actually lost this right here. Rattled off the bike and fell down, and I had to come back and walk up and down looking for it. And I did find it. That's why it's all beat up looking, because it gotten run over plenty of times. But I did manage to find it though, which was cool. Ooh, this guy's merging over with the trailer. Not about that life. The thing with choppers, I already previously built a dual sport. I bought a Harley Sportster and converted it over so I can get in the dirt. That's the one that got stolen, which essentially my payout from that is how I got this. I don't really have a desire to build another fun toy like that, but I've been interested in brat bikes just as long as I've been into the dual sports and the hooligan bikes. And it's kind of like, brats are kind of like a cafe, except they weren't really made to be just that uncomfortable thing that you ride. It's still made for the ergonomics of the rider, and it is part of the look, but it wasn't made to where you're like bent over trying to get a 250cc to go 62 miles an hour downhill with a tailwind. It wasn't really made that way. It was just made to be very minimalist, and I really like those minimalist looks on a bike. That's why I really enjoy this bike. Problem is, I actually use this bike to get around and do things, so I can't just like make it completely minimalist, because I need to add some way to carry something, and right now I always carry a backpack. But pretty soon I'll be carrying some bigger things, and maybe even a guitar. The guitar part, I'm still not so sure about. I'm on the fence about that. just, even most of the time, I just leave guitars at the studio. I got guitars at home. I'm kind of fine in that area for whatever I need to do. But in the idea of trying to play more and do more, it would be beneficial if I had a portable way to carry something on the bike. And it's always been like this weird dream to be able to do like weekend runs or even a small tour, and I'm just on a bike doing the tour and just carry my guitar and a pedal board or even an amp. The amp's gonna be a lot harder. I play 100 watt really loud amps that are really heavy. That's significantly harder to do, especially if they're in a road case to be protected. But the technology today, when people are using Kempers, and they've even got pedal amps that are like pedal power platforms for the power amp side to plug into a cab. But then they got all these great modelers that are coming out that I've honestly never tried a modeler or a fake, you know, these fake digital amps that are mimicking real amps. They got different technologies and they got names for them that I don't even know. I saw a video the other day from Universal Audio, and they were calling their new technology cab mic room simulator, and the guy was like, hey, isn't that an IR? IR means impulse response. And the dude was like, no, it's not an impulse response, it's different technology. It's something proprietary that we created. We call it cab mic room technology because it simulates the cab, it simulates the microphone on the cab, and it simulates the room. And I'm like, and it makes sense, honestly, because that is what they tout it as. It's actually a really cool device. It just came out. I think it's called the Universal Audio Aux Stomp. Essentially, Universal Audio created this device where you can plug your tube amp head into it, and for people like in studios where they don't really want to be that loud in the control room, but they still want to have access to the power amp, or they're like in an apartment or something and they have power amps for live situations, but they can't just blast that amp 100 watts to get the tone, you know, in an apartment in the middle of the night when they're recording or trying to demo or whatever. So you plug your amp head into this device, and it takes the actual speaker load, the impedance of it, absorbs it in, but also shapes that sound to recreate as if it's going through a cabinet, actually being mic'd, and it's actually got the room, like it simulates the room and the microphones on the cabinet. It's an emulation of all that, but it's pretty accurate, and a lot of people I watch use it, and sometimes you can't tell. Sometimes you can, but a lot of times you can't tell if they're using that or if they actually just used a microphone in the room. And it's pretty accurate, pretty cool. And I've never tried one. I've been interested in trying one, but the flip side of that is what it's made for is for people that can't be loud, and I have a studio where I can be loud. So I honestly didn't really have a need for it, so it wasn't really a thing for me to worry about. But I watched that video and they were talking about that, and I actually thought that was pretty cool, and it really got me thinking. There's another company called Victory Amplification out of the UK, and they make these things, I guess they're called pedal amps. They used to make these preamp pedals that would emulate the preamps of their amplifiers that they make, which they make tube amplifiers. So these preamps emulate their tube amplifiers, but without a power section, but it had a balanced and unbalanced output, I believe, so that you can essentially record your amp's tone directly in, and it reacted as if it was an amp, which is really cool. But it's like the amp going in, but you don't have the power side of it. So I was like, oh, that's really cool, but it makes sense for people recording and that are using the cabinet impulse responses, which is when cabinets push air, it creates an actual like response to the way that works and the way the cabinet resonates with the speaker. So what they do is they emulate that. There's a lot of people that emulate it. You can buy free emulators. People sculpt their own. And there's a bunch of them out there. I've never used them. I've never really dived into them because, like I said, I have a studio. I can be loud. And I have microphones. So to me, it's just easier to go put a microphone up on something and then just record it in. And it's honestly just easier. I always prefer a microphone on something than a digital instrument. All the sounds you've heard in all my videos, those are all real instruments I play. and put in and create, you know, sculpt a sound and sculpt something. I don't use any digital instruments or pianos, or I don't think I've used my piano yet. I've been thinking about it though. I need to pull it out. Problem is it's ridiculously heavy and I need a second person at the studio to help me. And lately I haven't had anybody out. Everybody else I know is busy and I've been really busy, so I've just been working solo in the studio a lot. I'll see if I can have somebody come out and help me. That would be, I can leave it set up somewhere and just cover it with something. That would be kind of cool. I know in my last video talking about the last two videos I made, I was talking about my accident. I had actually thought about setting up my piano and playing for that one, doing that cheesy, sad piano music in the background. I might do that in the back of this one, who knows, if I have the time and I get around to it. That might be what's in the back of this one. Yeah, I wanted to put the sad piano music in the background. And then I went down this whole rabbit hole where I was like, oh man, if I pull that piano out, I get lost in that thing. I got a Fender Rhodes Mark II. I believe it's Mark II. Pretty much it's a Fender Rhodes piano. It's the kind where it's an electric piano. It doesn't really sound like an acoustic piano where the notes are really not sharp musically, but sharp, like there's like a brittleness to the notes on a real piano. In classical music they have a word for that and I can't even think of what that is. It's been so long since I was in piano lessons and having to do all that, and I can't remember any of that now off the top of my head. But there's like a brightness and like a very sharp attack sound to a real piano, to the notes. And on an electric Fender Rhodes piano, they have almost a bell, warm, chimey sound, because they need you have to plug it into some form of preamp or amplification in order to get the sound out of those pianos. So I typically run my Fender Rhodes into a Vox AC30. I have a vintage Vox AC30 that just sounds amazing. And that combination is amazing. I recorded it on an album back in 2016, and I played a lot of guitar, but like on every song I made it a point to put a little bit of piano. And what I actually did is I doubled my guitar lines, like lead and melody lines, with the piano, the electric piano running through my guitar effects, and the same effects I played on guitar. And so that way it created like this beautiful, like, normally when you record guitar, especially like leads and solos, you normally do a double take, so that way it's not so, it just opens up the space to make it sound like more full and strong when you're playing those leads or solos. And so normally you would do two takes, and then a lot of times a producer will ask you to slightly variate one of them, so that way, because if it's too exact of a replica, the solo or the lead, it actually sounds more robotic than it does sound authentic. So my ethos at creating music has always been quality over quantity, and I thought of it as not having any kids, not being married when I started making music. My legacy at that point was only going to be the music and the art that I put out in this world. So I wanted it to matter. I wanted it to be where if I was to leave this world, that I influenced somebody with something I did. I didn't just put out something because it was, you know, half-baked, or I was just excited because I did it and it wasn't really like to the best of my ability. I want to put out something to the best of my ability. And now I've got more ideas on how to do that in a new way. Part of that, obviously, is what I'm doing here. Trying to make videos, talk things out, and explain my creative mindset. But also, this is family-friendly content that I can give out. So, at the very least, if there's somebody watching this and they're watching it with their kid can sit there and watch it. Because it's fine. There's, you know, you watch me ride a motorcycle or do some of the things I'm doing, maybe play some guitar and stuff. Yeah, it gets a little heavy sometimes musically, but it's not really like cursing or anything or a bad message. And that's part of what I'm doing. I want quality over quantity. So with that said, today's dad advice: you can make people do something, or you can make people want to do something. If you make people do something, that's less likely to have a positive effect down the line. A lot of people do things every day and just, you go to your job and you do what you're told for a second, you forget about it, and you move forward. But when you make somebody want to do something, that resonates with people. And it resonates where they even reference it and telling other people, or telling their friends, or telling their kids, or telling their wife or their husband. It has way more meaning. So you can make people do something, or you can make people want to do something. What I'm trying to do is make people want to do something. Alright. And remember, pull hard and play hard.